All right, guys, how you feeling? Right, Aaron Glenn is the next head coach of the Jets. I am fired up, right? Whenever you have that shift in leadership, shift in culture, shift in vision, when things aren't going well, right, that changing the guard, like that gets me fired up. I love this time of year, right, just to see the direction that all these different teams travel down. And Aaron Glenn's the guy. Aaron Glenn is the guy. And expect a ton of news to be dropping over the next I want to say 24 hours, couple days here, as we start to figure out who is going to be on Aaron Glenn's staff, the coordinators, obviously, but even further than that, assistants, positional coaches, and whatnot. Of course, we're going to be breaking it all down. Man, I can't wait for that. It's going to be so much fun. But in any case, I've seen actually a couple people suggest that Lance Newmark has been hired as well by the Jets. He's the new GM. That's not true. The Jets are still looking for a GM. According to Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network, Aaron Glenn, of course, finalized the deal with the New York Jets, but the team is now going to be bringing in additional second interviews for the general manager job, per sources. Lance Newmark was in the building with Glenn on Monday, and others remain under consideration. Now, Newmark can still get the job, but it tells me that, you know what, maybe Newmark was Glenn's guy. Detroit Lions connection. Obviously, Newmark, 26 years with the Detroit Lions. This is where, Aaron Glenn has been for the last handful of years. They were a part of that turnaround together. It was funny. Once all the reports started coming out, in my opinion, I felt, look, it's a connections-based league, right? You want that synergy between head coach and general manager. Hence why there's so many rumors coming out about that Jacksonville Jaguars job, right? Liam Cohen taking his name out of the mix. That job just feels weird, and the buzz is no one wants to work with Trent Baalke because they kept the GM. There needs to be that synergy there. When it comes to the New York Jets, we have now officially hired a head coach without a general manager. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of that. Now, you can argue, of course, if the Jets brought in Lance Newmark, maybe it was the same thing. If news comes out 15 minutes of each other, it's still technically, Glenn is the Jets guy, and they're bringing in, someone to work with Aaron Glenn, kind of like a tag team tandem, if you will, right? I think, there's still other options for this Jets team, guys that, I'm going to be blunt and honest here. I prefer other options. Jon-Eric Sullivan has been my number one GM candidate for a long, long time. I don't know if he's going to get the gig at this point, but we'll see if the Jets bring him back for a second. In fact, the Jets interviewed, I believe, a total of 15 different candidates for general manager, right? Borgonzi off the board, Tennessee Titans. Quick side note, the Raiders made a move. They hired Spytek from the Buccaneers, a former Tom Brady teammate. He's off the board. And no other teams out there are searching for a general manager. So I do think there's going to be heavy interest here in this Jets job. And out of those 15 candidates, my original list of 6 guys that I wanted the Jets to call back for second interviews, it was Jon-Eric Sullivan, Mike Borgonzi, Chris Spielman, Lance Newmark, Darren Mougey, and Brian Gaine from the Buffalo Bills. Now we have to substitute Borgonzi out, off the board clearly. So to sub someone in, I would say, I really don't think it would be a negative to reach out to Thomas DImitroff again, someone who's found a franchise quarterback, someone who's built up an offensive line, got his team to the Super Bowl, 2-time exec of the year. If we're talking about just a second interview with a handful of different candidates, just see what DImitroff brings to the table. I really don't feel like that's going to hurt the Jets in any way. Again, we're not racing against another team. It's not one GM up here, and there's 2 teams that are trying to, who's going to present the best offer. Not the situation, right? We can really do our, due diligence, thorough research, and sit down with these guys and make the best determination with Aaron Glenn, obviously making moves. Now, out of those 6, again, Sullivan, Spielman, Gaine, Newmark, Mougey, and DImitroff, 3 of them have direct connections to Glenn. Newmark, Spielman, and Gaine, right? Now, Gaine is a bit of a different situation. He was just with the Jets at the same time that Aaron Glenn was a player for the Jets in that late 90s, early 2000s. So it should be pretty interesting. Again, I could see Newmark still getting the job here, but the fact that he was in the building, they brought him in for a second interview, and they still couldn't get something done. And the Jets now want to go reach out to other GM targets. it does feel like they want to go in a different direction. So I don't know. We'll see how this whole thing plays out, but the reporting that's out there that Newmark has been hired as the team's general manager is false. It's still open. I don't know when we're going to get news on it. I would assume by Friday, but we'll see how it plays out. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below, and as always, go Jets.